want to have in my inbox. But thank you for offering your opinions, gentlemen. I do appreciate it. You're always welcome to email me, Vicki McKenna at iHeartMedia.com. All right, it is to Kenosha we go. And thankfully, one reporter alerted people earlier in the week to something that was afoot in Kenosha. The Parks Commission in Kenosha had planned, and it was expected would pass, a proposal to create a memorial in a park in Kenosha for Anthony Huber, who would have been one of the people who attacked Kyle Rittenhouse with a skateboard and Rittenhouse shot, and one of the people who had engaged in violent riot actions during the Kenosha riots. But for Kevin Mathewson at Kenosha County I, nobody would have known about that, because then Van Wangard would not have known about that. He would have not put out a press release. I would not have known about that. I would not have clicked on the article and learned what was going on. Kevin is on the phone to talk about all of this. As I understand, the Parks Commission has tabled the proposal to create a memorial tree for a guy who, if he could have gotten away with it, would have bashed Kyle Rittenhouse's head in.
Correct. Yes, they pulled an old trick. They tabled the proposal, so at any time they can take it off the table and vote for it and put the tree and the plaque up at a moment's notice.
All right. So you watched this, right? You watched the meeting, or you attended the meeting?
Yep, I was the first one in the room.
Okay, so you attended the meeting. Did it seem like this was something that was being tabled because suddenly people paid attention to it, or is it something that was being tabled because there was pushback against it?
It was definitely the pushback. So the chairman has control over what gets voted on. That's his authority on that commission. And if he didn't want it to pass, if he didn't want the controversy, he simply would have left it off the agenda. But they put it on the agenda, as far as I know, pretty early in the morning. And we're hoping that no one would pay attention because, look, it's a parks meeting. It's not exciting. You know, I was the only conservative on city council when I was an alderman, so that's what the mayor threw me on, is the Parks Commission, because it's not fun. It's boring stuff, talking about contracts for cutting down trees and things that people don't pay attention to. So I caught it in the middle of the night. I typed up an article real quickly, and thanks to you and other great journalists, we got the word out, and people started calling, people started emailing, and they got scared pretty quickly. So they must have either met in person or, called each other and said, hey, we can't do this. We're getting our butts kicked out here. So they decided beforehand that they were going to table it, which is just not what we wanted them to do. We wanted them to vote it down and to show the voters that this proposal, which is basically a spit in our face to honor somebody who was part of the worst thing to ever happen to our city in its history.
Oh, indeed. And we're not talking about a guy who is spotless. We're talking about a guy with a violent criminal record, including directed domestic violence against his own family members. So it's not like this guy was some kind of, big teddy bear, who just got whipped up in the frenzy of a moment or anything like that. This is a violent guy with a criminal past who went there with a weapon and then attacked Kyle Rittenhouse. What if you would have said, I've got an idea. Let's have a memorial plaque for Kyle Rittenhouse. How do you think that would have gone over? Do you think the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel might have paid attention to that?
Oh, of course. And I think you would have had, pushback from the left. And it's just, I probably wouldn't have agreed with putting up a memorial for Kyle Rittenhouse either. I guess it wouldn't be called a memorial, but it's just, it's something that is, like I said, the worst thing that happened to our city. And it was just a dumb decision. And a lot of people I talked to just can't believe that this alderman put it on the agenda. I mean, did he think that people were going to like this idea? Did he not think that it was going to get vandalized? I mean, I wouldn't support somebody vandalizing it, but come on, a Sawzall a little shovel in the middle of the night, somebody would have vandalized that thing. It would have been a waste.
100%. And then you would have wasted police resources trying to figure out who tore down a memorial to a guy who was part of destroying the city of Kenosha and attacked a man who fired in self-defense to save his own life. So, yeah, that would have been kind of dumb. But how did it get there? So first up, which alderman are we talking about here? Might as well name names.
So his name is Alderman Eric Howgard. If you look at him on the city's website, he's got dark hair. That's like a almost 20-year-old picture. If you looked at him on my video, he's full gray, liberal, card-carrying, bleeding heart liberal, of course. The red wave hit Kenosha County, as your listeners know, but the city it's going to be a long time before it turns red. That committee was 5 out of 5 card-carrying Democrats. Eric Howgard, he's the Parks chairman. He put it on the agenda, and the only thing you put something on the agenda for is if you want it to pass. And he realized pretty quickly that was a dumb decision, and why they didn't just vote it down and appease the majority, I don't know, but
because they believe, because they put it on the agenda because they believed it was a perfectly fine thing to do. How did it get so that anybody wanted to consider doing this?
It blows my mind. It makes no sense to me. Anthony Huber was a man who lived a life of violence, and he was attracted to the lawlessness like all the other criminals were. I mean, you take a person like him who's been arrested and convicted so many times of violent crime, felon, they get drawn to these lawless situations where police are outnumbered and you can do anything you want without any consequences. He went there with his skateboard. He saw an opportunity to hit a 17-year-old kid in the neck. Could have killed. You can kill somebody with a skateboard. We all know that. He made a very fatal mistake that night, and he paid the price for it. And to honor him, it just defies any type of common sense, even from a lot of my Democrat friends that I talk to. It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
and, incidentally, he tries to kill Kyle Rittenhouse. The narrative that Rittenhouse went there, as a white supremacist seeking trouble or anything like that, that was completely obliterated in a well-publicized trial of Kyle Rittenhouse. So, I don't know why you want to keep clinging to the lie, to the narrative lie. Something else that is something that the left clings to with the narrative lie. Kenosha didn't burn. Kenosha wasn't destroyed because all of Kenosha wasn't destroyed. And so since some of Kenosha was destroyed and some of Kenosha burned, if you say Kenosha burned or Kenosha was destroyed, you're lying. This is quite literally how people respond to folks who say, why would you want to honor a violent felon who helped burn Kenosha? Well, Kenosha didn't burn. That's the kind of thought process. And so I don't know what's in the mind of Mr. Howgard, but let's hope that maybe the attention and folks having contacted him is enough to dissuade him from putting that back on the agenda. I know that, Kevin, you'll be watching, so we'll know.
I sure will be, yeah. And it's not something I usually pay attention to, the parks agenda, but apparently now it is.
KenoshaCountyEye.com, right?
That's me.
All right.
Yep.
Everybody bookmark it, KenoshaCountyEye.com, especially if you're in Kenosha, and otherwise as well, just because a lot of the stuff that shows up on Kenosha County Eye is pretty awesome. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a happy Friday.
Thanks, you as well. We are going to take a break. You know what? If there was just a little bit of, I don't know, enthusiasm for actual journalism, then it is likely that the Parks Commission wouldn't have even tried to pull the stunt in the first place. Unfortunately for us, there's only a handful of people willing to actually do real journalism. One of them, Kevin, Jessica and Jim at Wisconsin Right Now, Matt Kittle at Empower Wisconsin, Bill Osmulski at McIver. Unfortunately, most local news outlets are not interested. We'll be right back.